I think more than anything, when it comes to this poetry book, it is an opportunity for me to delve into a passion or a hobby of mine that I won't say I forgot about, but it's something that I never put as much practice into as I would have liked, just based off of, fear of not being good enough, or fear that my poetry wasn't comparable to, some people around me. Just kind of getting wrapped up in all the things that you shouldn't be even thinking about when you just being self-expressive. Sometimes I would go months to years without writing, and then I get back into it expecting it to have the same weight or impact as it, did when the last time I wrote something. But in me just kind of never really attaining that. Well, sometimes that was the case. I wouldn't attain like that same level of weight, or it just really wouldn't. I wouldn't be satisfied with it, and that sometimes would discourage me. But it also, I think, was me not making time for it as well, because part way is, I just kind of get wrapped up in the daily comings and goings of life and shit. But also, when I'm struck with an idea, I'm on the road or in the process of doing something where I don't have the means to just kind of like drop everything and write a poem. But I think in me being very intentional about writing these poems and getting to that 200 number and publish them or whatever, I think I kind of made the time out of my day to really focus and sit down in the process of writing the final 14 poems. I was going to wait a little bit just to kind of give myself some time away from, writing, to live a little more life and experience some things as I, finish up these final 14 and, perhaps be inspired by things. And I guess I was inspired just by a conversation I had with my homeboy, and just shit. I just was anxious and ready to write again. So starting up the final march and shit, it really has been quite the journey, and trying to diversify these poems and finding new things to talk about, and pushing myself beyond, the topics that I had grown a bit accustomed to. And that's something that I always wanted to bring up at some point, and just how when I first started writing, it was kind of me speaking from a place of like pain and like rejection and shit like that, and just speaking on societal woes, if you will, just because I've always been very attentive to those things, just because I don't know, that's just been my disposition, I guess. A very serious kid, and that has really bled into the person that I am now. I try to be a little more relaxed and try to calm down a bit and be a bit more carefree with things in regards to like just my coming and going. But yeah, old habits die hard, I suppose. But I think this book really has given me an opportunity to write beyond those, beyond things other than just kind of like pain or rejection or even love, because that was something I leaned heavily into when I first started writing as well. But actually, and I think not necessarily to my detriment, but I haven't written up much or as much about societal issues as I would have liked. I mean, granted, it'll be splatters of it here and there, but like altogether out of the 200, or rather out of the 188 that I've written, I think maybe 5 to 10 are dedicated towards like societal issues or whatever the case may be, like poems focus solely on that. And I think that's fine, just because whatever I was writing at the time, probably which really was my emotions, probably just had more precedence with me. It just had more weight. It just was more not necessarily important, but it was just kind of what my heart was speaking to at that moment in time. So I'm glad I was able to speak to that instead of trying to like force a poem about poverty or pollution or shit like that. And like I said, it's kind of in the poems, if it makes sense, like you'll catch certain words or phrases while alluding to it. One that I recently wrote that I really love. I
Airing my thoughts and just kind of like giving a perspective into my world a little bit. But also, I understand that if this is a book to be purchased, I want people to enjoy it. I want people to you know, be moved by the words and the versatility and the difference in what I'm writing. Whether or not that came out effectively is anybody's guess, but I guess we'll see when everything is said and done. But to that point, there is also a nervousness in me releasing this as well. There is definitely an apprehension just because you know, uh, putting so much effort and time into something that you cherish and you care about, for it to be rejected, it's just kind of like what does that where does that leave you as a poet or whatever the case may be? Where does that leave you as an artist? And I know it's not necessarily about that, and it's just something that if it is rejected, then it's just something that's was rejected. It's not, it might not be necessarily a a reflection on my part, just in the context of it's just people just weren't feeling it, and I guess that's okay because more than anything, it's something that I was committed to doing, and it's a project that I was dedicating myself to, and at the end of the day, even if it does, I could definitely take pride in saying like this is something that I was passionate about. This is something that I was dedicated to finishing and seeing through to the end, and I'm glad I did that. You know, it might it might be a collection of just really bad or like gauche or like cliche poems. I don't think they are. I think it's definitely very raw and vulnerable. Some poems more than others, and some of them are just kind of not. I'm not gonna call them throwaways because none of it is throwaway, but some of them are, a lot less serious and a lot less based on something, uh, particular as opposed to some of the other ones. But I also do want to acknowledge, the fact that it is very much a part of me that is being, released and put out into the world. I know the two and few poems that I've shared with people and posted on like the socials tend to get a really nice reception. And I'm very grateful for that, just because it's further motivation and maybe confirmation that this is something that I should be doing and something I should be confident about, and I am confident. I am confident. I am sure that this is going to it'll reach, or it'll touch at least one person, and I guess if it does that, then I guess the mission was accomplished, or what I was setting out to do was achieved.
have been writing poetry for years. I think the first poem that I wrote was a sonnet. I was being taught by my sixth grade teacher, and this you know what? I think a sonnet may have been like one of my first poems, and if it wasn't, I had probably been writing a little bit before that. I think I was doing speeches before that. Maybe like, God damn. I've been writing a long time, essentially. Cause yeah, I couldn't even tell you exactly when I wrote my first poem, but I know it was definitely in grammar school. But I know when I first started out, a lot of my poems were very descriptive, using a lot of similes. And I don't, it wasn't necessarily a thing of like, this is the only way I know how to write, but that was where I felt I could be most effective as a writer, as a poet. Just being descriptive, using similes like as and shit like that. And,
I think poetry is such a versatile, expressive medium. There's so much you can do with it. It's kind of like the foundation to a lot of different avenues when it comes to just expression itself. The way I kind of look at it is sun breathing almost from Demon Slayer. How poetry, I guess by extension, writing would be the sun breathing, and poetry was an extension of it. But poetry can easily lead into rapping or songwriting or lyrics in general. It can lead into a story. It can lead into just a whole host of different things, and it all starts with, of course, writing, but poetry kind of being like that first. I feel like poetry is kind of like the introductory, the foundation, the baby blocks to it, and then whatever you choose to do with it further is just kind of like whatever you compelled or whatever you motivate. Poetry has just always kind of been what I was interested in doing, interested in writing. Not even to say just because it's something that everybody doesn't do, but it's just something that I feel is very unique to me. I think it's unique in general, but I'm not the first poet, and I won't be the last poet, which is great. But poetry is just something that I've always been attuned to personally. I hope that through the creation of this book and just doing the act more, that I can produce even more, work that I'm proud of, because I'm absolutely proud of this. I'm at like 186 right now, and I'm taking a break before I hop back into the final 14. Out of 186, it's only one where I was like, I didn't like how this turned out. Y'all won't be reading that one. It's just something I'm kind of carrying with me to my grave and shit. But I think out of 186, only one was like less than